Welcome to Sanibel Island. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a licensed tour guide and travel content creator, and you may know me from my 2 other videos about how to visit Sanibel. But I received so many questions in the comments about what it's like to visit Sanibel today after Hurricane Ian. So I am back and I am here to tell you about all the wonderful treasures that you can enjoy on Sanibel Island. But before we get started, make sure that you click subscribe so you never miss a travel minute.
Muffin talk. Muffin talk. Muffin talks. Bringing healing to those who need it most.
For so many, Sanibel and Captiva Islands have been a paradise that they return to time and time again. But in 2022, a Category 4 hurricane, Hurricane Ian, made impact on southwest Florida, devastating Sanibel. The island was covered in nearly 14 feet of water. Beloved establishments were completely swept away. The causeway, the only way on and off the island, crumbled into the water below. So now the question is, what's it like to visit Sanibel post-Hurricane Ian? Is it open? Well, I'm happy to report that, thanks to the hard work of locals, Sanibel is once again open, with beautiful beaches waiting for you.
Sanibel is an island off the west coast of Florida, located in the Gulf, and it is famous for its shelling and also its sustainability, its conservation. In fact, 70% or nearly 70% of Sanibel's lands are protected land, conservation land. So this is a nature lover's paradise. Sanibel is also famous for its really relaxed lifestyle and for keeping a lot of major chains off the island. So it has this very quaint, old-timey feel while also having all the comforts and modern amenities that make everything super, super comfortable and enjoyable to be here.
The main draw of Sanibel has always been its beautiful beaches. 15 miles of beautiful beaches to be exact. The Gulf waters here are generally more calm than the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean, making it great for families. You can swim for hours, explore the seashore, even paddleboard. It's also not uncommon to spot dolphin playing among the waves. Oh, and yes, Sanibel's beaches are open and waiting for you.
One of the most fascinating aspects of staying at Sanibel are the tides. Now, what I mean by the tides is the water levels of the Gulf. So there are 2 main tides, high tide and low tide. Now during high tide, that water comes very high up on the beach. The water levels rise, the water gets deeper. Where I'm standing now would be covered in water. Now high tides are great if you want to swim. Then low tide is when the water recedes. It's low down on the beach. You get lots of sand and the water tends to be way more shallow. And in fact, if you look behind me, there are people quite far out in the Gulf and they're able to stand because the water level is so shallow. Typically, these low tides are the best for shelling, if you want to find a conch, a whelk, sand dollar, maybe a starfish. And it's also great if you're maybe a little timid of going far out in the Gulf, you want to still be able to stand, because you'll be able to stand quite far out. In Sanibel, there are 2 very important walks that you need to learn. So the first one is the Sanibel Stoop. This is where you bend at your waist and you're looking for shells. And if you find a shell, you pick it up. Remember, if it's a live shell, you always put it back. Now the second walk is the stingray shuffle. Now sometimes there are stingrays on the ground, so you want to shuffle your feet, and that scares the stingrays away. And also, if you're shuffling your feet, maybe you'll find a sand dollar or a starfish. Remember, always put living sand dollars and starfish back. So we have the Sanibel Stoop and the stingray shuffle. There are so many reasons to visit Sanibel. For me, the main draw is the Gulf, the beaches, the swimming, and the shelling. But a lot of people come to Sanibel for the fishing. In full transparency, I am not a fisher, so I am not great at telling you exactly what fish you are going to be able to catch. But behind me, you see people fishing, and I was told that some of them were hoping to catch a snook, and some want to catch a tarpon. One of the most important things about visiting Sanibel is where you are actually staying. So my family and I have been coming to Sanibel for decades and decades, and we've stayed in a lot of places. And our favorite place is Sundial. Now, there are many reasons why we love Sundial, and I will list many of those for you, but I think one of the main reasons is its location. It is right here on the Gulf, and if we actually turn around here, you can see where the units are. They are right here on the beach. They overlook the Gulf, and you can go running out from your unit right onto the sand and then enjoy a dip in the Gulf of Mexico.
While the direct beach access is my favorite part of staying at Sundial Beach Resort and Spa, there are many perks to staying at Sundial. When you're staying at the resort, you have free access to their kayaks, paddle boards, bicycles, tennis, pickleball, daily crafts, and family-friendly activities, as well as their pool and hot tub. Also included are beach chairs and umbrellas, and you can reserve a poolside cabana. Our reservation also included a continental breakfast, which helped us fuel up for a day of swimming.
If you're out swimming in the hot sun, you're gonna work up an appetite, and this is where Turtle's Tiki Bar comes in. Turtle's Tiki Bar is part of Sundial, so you come up here and you can get yourself a tiki drink, sandwiches, burgers. Their Sundial chips are out of this world. It's like seriously one of my favorite places in Sanibel.
This trip, we stayed in a beautiful 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom unit with a partial Gulf view. The beds were soft and cozy, and the decor was perfectly seaside themed. Something that we love about staying at Sundial is that you can reserve units with parking, a fully functioning kitchen, dishwasher, and a washing machine. Hey, I live in New York City. Let me be impressed with the washing machine. That's a huge luxury in the Big Apple. And you're going to want that washing machine when you're running around and playing in the sand. Oh, and we also enjoyed the screened-in downstairs porch with lots of family-friendly activities.
Something that I personally believe is an absolute must when you visit Sanibel is to take a boat ride. Now there's all different types of boat rides. There are public boat rides and private boat rides. Right now we are taking a private charter from Port Sanibel, and I really love these private charters because you can have the exact experience that you want. So we really wanted to see dolphins, so we were able to go find dolphin, chase dolphin, let dolphins play in the wake of our boat. We got to see them jumping and dancing, and it was amazing. We also saw manatee and tarpon and a sea turtle, and then we went shelling on an island that you can only get to by boat, and we ate lunch at a place where you can only get to by boat, which is also the place that is rumored to have been what inspired Jimmy Buffett to write Cheeseburger in Paradise. Now, Port Sanibel also offers fishing charters. You can take a charter at sunset if you want. There are lots and lots of options.
My name's Captain Weston Pentecost, and I run fishing charters and sightseeing charters like this off of the coast of Sanibel. Port Sanibel is a really diverse place. We have all our fishing charters and stuff. Mainly we're kind of switching up since Ian to getting back into the fishing charters and stuff, because we used to run them regularly, but now we're getting back into it, and we're gonna start doing some like sunset tours and stuff like that too. You could do dolphin tours with us, and we'll find the dolphins for you, and we'll get them in the wake jumping, and we'll take you out to Captiva and Cayo Costa, and we'll do shelling in some of the best shelling places in the world. So we'll also, on our shelling trips and stuff like that, and you can do combo lunch trips with fishing and stuff, but It's called Cabbage Key, and it's an old historic place built on Calusa Indian mounds. And there's a cheeseburger there that is rumored to be the cheeseburger that Jimmy Buffett wrote the song Cheeseburger in Paradise off of.
Conservation and the environment is extremely important to Sanibel Island, and it's part of what makes it such a wonderful paradise to visit. 12,000 acres of land is conservation land here, and it belongs to the J.N. Ding Darling National Wildlife Refuge. And if you look at this map, all of this beautiful green and blue area, that's conservation land. There is an education center at Ding Darling. I wanted to show it to you, however, it's currently undergoing renovation. They do expect it to reopen in November of this year, 2025. And if you check my old videos, I do show a little bit inside. There's also a wildlife drive that you can do where you get to experience different birds, maybe even see an alligator in the nature preserve. So if you really want to learn more about the ecosystem, this is where to come. If you're interested in the history of Sanibel Island, there are lots of places that you can go. I just happened to stumble upon this little exhibit in the Captiva Library put on by the Captiva Historical Society, and it talks about how mail would have arrived in Captiva and Sanibel before the causeway opened in 1963. So between 1936 and 1963, your mail would have arrived on a boat. One of these boats was called the Santiva, and it was a mail boat that looked a lot like this. So you can come here and play with this interactive exhibit, and then along the walls, there are all of these wonderful historical photos. And one of the exhibits that I found particularly interesting talks about the different ways that people have arrived on Sanibel and Captiva over the years. So the causeway, of course, is how most people arrive today, unless you happen to have your own private boat that you can dock, but that didn't open until 1963. So the first way that people got here was by boat. If you happen to have a car, they would probably have to disassemble the car and reassemble it on the island. You might meet this lovely man with a mule who would help you with your baggage and your luggage and other kinds of building supplies. 1925, a ferry service was available between Punta Rasa and Sanibel. And then in the 1950s, if you were lucky enough, you could arrive in Sanibel using a seaplane. And then finally, in 1963, we had the causeway that opened. So if you are interested in history, make sure that you check out these exhibits, and for more history by the sea, follow me. What to pack for your Sanibel vacation? Well, great news, Sanibel is pretty casual. You spend most of your time out on the beach, swimming in the Gulf, perhaps on a boat. There are certainly opportunities to get dressed up if you want to get dressed up. I just love wearing pretty dresses to take photos in, so you can bring those, but for the most part, everything is just very, very casual. But there are some important must-haves, so I have laid them out here. Of course, because you are at the beach, you need lots and lots and lots of sunscreen, waterproof sunscreen. So any sunscreen that you need, bring that. Now there are a lot of mosquitoes and no-see-ums, so you will definitely want protection from those. Bug spray. We found this thing called shoe bug. They have it for sale here on the island, and it seems to be the best protection from the no-see-ums that we have. So we have shoe bug right here. Now, because you are spending a lot of time out on the beach and there are a lot of shells here, I always like to bring water shoes. So I have two different types here. These are Crocs, very stylish. They are gold Crocs. I love them because you can put them on with a dress, and I think they look just fine, and you can go in the water and they're nice and safe, and you can rinse the sand off of them. If you want a little more protection from the shells or the sand, my mom found these shoes on Amazon. They're pretty inexpensive, and I'll try to put a link to them in the comments or the caption. So you just put them on your feet. You can wear them in the water, out of the water, and they're really great because If you step down, sometimes there's something like a sharp shell and you don't want your foot to get cut, so these will protect you from that. However, if you're looking for sand dollar, it will make your feet a little less sensitive to being able to find the sand dollars, but both of these shoes are great. Now, the next thing that you really need is a beach cover-up. I love Camillas. They're sparkly, they're pretty. This one's inside out, but you just put them on and they're really pretty for photos, but you can find less expensive versions of these. I also like to get light t-shirts to put on over my dresses or anything if I'm out in the sun, and that's especially important if you're on a boat. I feel like this is the Florida secret. People hear that things are hot in Florida, so they wear like very tight-fitting clothes and they don't cover their shoulders, and that's a mistake. Right now my shoulders aren't covered, that's a mistake. So I'll sometimes wear a shawl, a shirt, some sort of a cover-up, and then of course you always need a hat to keep the sun off your face. And all of this will keep the sun off of you to keep you nice and cool. So you want cover-ups, you want a hat, and of course you're gonna wanna bring tons of bathing suits because you're going to spend a lot of time in the water. Sometimes you can even wear like a rash guard or a surfer shirt to keep the sun off of you while you're swimming. Now, Sundial is really nice and they give you these little shell collecting bags, but if you're coming here, you definitely want to have something to wear while you are collecting shells. So bring some sort of a shell collecting bag, and some people bring shovels and all kinds of interesting equipment for getting their shells. Sanibel and Captiva have lots of really great places to shop. The shops at Periwinkle Place, for example. But one place that I always make sure to swing by is the Jungle Drums Gallery on Captiva. Now, this art gallery has all of these works by artists that specialize in aquatic life, and you can go in and you can purchase the pieces, and they have everything from mirrors to sculptures to lamps to jewelry. And I think every single year that I have visited Sanibel, I have gotten a necklace from Jungle Drums, including the one that I am wearing right now. Part of what makes Sanibel so special is how they have resisted any sort of overdevelopment. So for example, there's a height restriction to how tall buildings can be on the island, and they've resisted most major chains coming and having a presence on the island. So almost everything is local and native to Sanibel. However, don't worry, you're not completely isolated. There is a grocery store, Jerry's grocery store, where you can get everything from fruits to frozen pizzas. I will warn you that the fruits can be a little pricey at Jerry's. And there's also a CVS, and the CVS has everything that you will need, from bug spray to sunscreen to medication to hats and even ice cream. We got some pineapple coconut ice cream there late at night. So you will have plenty of opportunities to go shopping if you want to cook at home in your unit, or if you need anything from CVS.
Many of the hardest hit Sanibel establishments were the restaurants, but I'm happy to report the island is once again overflowing with delicious food. The Sanibel staple Doc Ford's is serving up its famous macadamia-encrusted grouper and rum-based cocktails. Cielo is upscale, farm-to-table fine dining. Dante's has delicious carbonara and a key lime cocktail. Betty Boop's in Captiva has a famous orange cake. You'll be happy to find many of your favorite restaurants up and thriving, as well as some new ones to discover and fall in love with.
When I started posting videos about my trip to Sanibel this year on Instagram and TikTok, I immediately started getting questions saying I thought that the hurricane destroyed everything. So in the recent years, Sanibel and Captiva have experienced 3 major hurricanes, most notably Hurricane Ian, which swept through Sanibel in 2022, and then Captiva really felt the effects of Hurricane Milton. And I would be lying if I told you that there was no signs of these hurricanes. So for example, I'm in Captiva right now, standing in front of the Mucky Duck, which is an institution of these islands. It was established in 1976. And you can see that it is not open. My understanding is that it was totally demolished after Hurricane Milton, but they do seem to be rebuilding, and that really seems to be the spirit here. So things were demolished, destroyed, washed away, but the community has banded together to rebuild, perhaps rebuild even stronger and better than before. And new things have been able to sprout up for us to discover, and some of these new things have become our favorite parts of Sanibel and Captiva. So I'm looking forward to visiting the Mucky Duck soon. Locals tell us that every time a major storm sweeps through Sanibel, it changes the coastline a little bit. For example, the buoys in the Gulf have to be repositioned because it changes the depth of the water, and of course they want to keep the boaters safe. So Hurricane Ian was no exception. Now, if you visited Sanibel before Hurricane Ian, you may recall very specific sandbars, for example. Now, there are still sandbars out in the Gulf. They're still a great place to go shelling, but they might be positioned a little bit differently than you remember and come out of the water a little bit differently. For example, right here where I'm standing, during low tide, the sandbars used to come fully out of the water. We didn't experience a tide low enough for those sandbars to come out of the water, but it was still super fun, and of course the beach is always magnificent. One of the things that's so special about Sanibel is that people come back year after year after year. They bring their children and their grandchildren here. My family has been coming here since I was about 5 years old, and I am not unique in the fact that I come back time and time again.
Yes, I've been coming to Sanibel for the last 16 years.
Many years ago, my parents and brothers and I would come over from Miami, probably over 50 years ago now. And we've just started the tradition, and we've been coming over here now. My kids come with me and my grandson.
I love the beach. I love specifically where the shoreline and the water come together and all the cool creatures that live there.
Perhaps the most iconic symbol of Sanibel is the historic lighthouse, which was first lit in 1884. So it's actually older than the Statue of Liberty. Now, if you were watching the events of Hurricane Ian, you know that she sustained some damage. One of her legs washed out into the water, but they managed to find it and repair the lighthouse. And it was relit in February of 2023. And like so much of Sanibel today, it has been repaired, rebuilt, stronger than it was before, and is ready to shine bright. So when you come to visit Sanibel today, there will be some differences, but you'll notice that so many of your favorite stores, shops, and institutions have reopened, ranging from Jerry's grocery store to the Bubble Room to Sundial Beach Resort. Now, other places like Bailey's, we did notice, were under construction. There are signs that are saying there's going to be a new Bailey's Center coming soon, so we can't wait to see that and how that too rebuilds stronger than it was before. I personally think that this is a great time to visit Sanibel. There's so much to see, so much to do, and of course the beaches and the Gulf are gorgeous as always. Have you visited Sanibel recently? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure that you click subscribe. It helps me bring you more videos like these. Thank you so much, and happy travels.